played outfield, right?
2 World Series. 87.
Welcome to another fine edition of It's a Sports Show, and for a change, a somber one. Alongside me, as always, Dolphin Paul, and I'm Scott Cray. I can't even keep my train of thought here. Just found out recently, Kirby Puckett dead at the age of 45, just a week shy of his 46, and a little unlike us to get into that somber mode, but it is sports, and when a person of this nature, passes away at such a young age, it really kind of brings to life how unimportant sports really is. They're all human beings, and they're not invincible after all. Even someone as like this Kirby Puckett.
Well, we've talked about stuff like that before. A while back, we had Hurricane and Katrina. That's still no reason to have like a boring opening. I think the fans still expect to see welcome to another fine edition, and then get to the somber news.
True.
Well, Kirby Puckett, 45 years old, had a stroke.
Yep.
Great career by all accounts.
Yeah.
From all his teammates, at least on the field, the people that knew him. They were showing a little bit of his history, and you forget, of course, because he's been out of the league for a while, but they showed he literally took the team on his back, on and off the field, and he made Minnesota a winner. I mean, the guy was 5'8", and I believe in his period of play had more hits than any other hitter.
Yeah, I mean, he said during his Hall of Fame speech that other players and coaches and peers had said, dude, you're just too short to play in Major League Baseball. And he proved them all wrong. And that's the way he played. He was constantly proving people wrong, but not in a way where he had a chip on his shoulder.
Always smiling.
Yeah, always smiling, always having a good time. Back in the days when Minnesota in the late 80s, early 90s had a great baseball team. And it was you could almost, in a way, compare it to the idiots talk of the Red Sox and their World Series win. Minnesota, not called idiots, but really had that real light, lively type atmosphere where everyone, from rookies to veterans, felt comfortable playing in Minnesota. And a lot of that was thanks to their leader, Kirby Puckett.
Absolutely. And, unfortunately, he had glaucoma in 1995, so he couldn't continue on.
Right.
And he's one of those guys who probably, without knowing for a fact, but probably had a hard time handling life after baseball. By all accounts, he ballooned to 400 pounds, close to 400 pounds.
Right. By
the time he died, some people even said that he drank and ate himself to death, which, we're not doctors, but, the guy was only 5'8".
Right.
So to be that heavy, I guess he kind of had a little bit of a downward spiral after his baseball career was over. But
from what I gather, he was very, very involved in Minnesota, both the franchise and the team and the community as well. He won the Roberto Clemente Award, which back in '96, which goes to a player that is involved in the community and spends their time and money, obviously, in the community. And he kept doing that even beyond baseball. One of the greatest memories that I personally don't remember seeing, whether I was into baseball at that point or not, but one of the best memories that seems to be kind of a national recognition is in the AL in the '91 World Series, Game 6, he clocks a home run in the 11th inning.
Yep.
To get to a Game 7, and they ended up winning the World Series.
They were down in that World Series also, and one of the teammates said that after they lost one of the games, he went into the locker room. He said, "Guys, jump on my back."
Yeah.
And he said that,
and
they came back and won the series. But take a
look at these stats.
I don't know if I've ever heard someone say one of the greatest memories that I don't have. I don't know if I've ever heard that.
Does that make much sense?
Yeah, just, I pick up on
well, like I said, it's a memory that I don't have personally.
In all seriousness, that brings us to not another subject, but hey, athletes are just like the rest of us.
Yeah, that's
just
the thing.
Because you're a professional athlete doesn't mean you're not subjected to cholesterol and heart problems, glaucoma, stuff like that. I mean, generally you're in much better shape than the average human, but
still doesn't mean you're going to live life
you
longer.
don't take care of your body. We've talked about this before. He's not any different than anybody else. I don't want to.
Look at some of his numbers, man. He played for
fantastic numbers.
He is a 10-time All-Star, 207 homers, 304 hits. 2304. That wouldn't make much sense. Over 1,000 ribbies, 134 steals. A lot of people forget that
he was quick.
He could pick up some bags.
He could round the bases, absolutely.
I think his highest season for home runs might have been somewhere in the mid-30s, but he was pretty steady with the steals.
Just a solid hitter.
The big stat, 318 career average. That's pretty good to end your career You know, and like you said, his career was ended early, but he maintained that average.
And he's one of those athletes, and we could spend a whole hour talking about different types of athletes. He's one of those athletes that's not your typical athlete.
Right.
You know, he's not the 6'2", chiseled. I mean, again, we could have a whole show with the David Wells.
Yeah.
Doug Flutie's come to mind. Spud Webb.
These guys that can succeed.
Guys against the yard with
outside
different
their frame.
type bodies. Not, pretty much like me. not cut and chiseled, but I'm a tremendous athlete.
You're quite the athlete.
I fit into that mode.
I tell you though, when I heard he, they said he was too short and he didn't have a chance, and they said he was 5'8". I'm like, I'm 5'8". I'd like to think I could have played baseball if I tried hard enough, but apparently not. Anyway.
Apparently not. But well.
So anyway,
it's just unfortunate, and obviously his family, the people that knew him, and all of his friends are going to have to deal with that, and obviously we're. Our thoughts and prayers should be with that family, just like anybody else.
Absolutely. Well, let's shift gears.
Let's shift gears.
Get back to our normal attitude.
Unfortunately, I don't think we're going up in morale. With our next story,
else, man. Barry Bonds. You folks, whether you like Sports Illustrated or not, you have got to pick up this very next issue. Okay, at the time of taping, if you're watching this, it's already on the newsstands. Go get it. Okay, there's an article from two authors. Okay. Who are reporters for the San Francisco Chronicle.
Yep.
It's a book called The Game of Shadows. Now, what's the deal with this? It's a book called Game of Shadows, but
that'll be out in about a month.
An excerpt is going to be in Sports Illustrated. Okay,
right.
That's where Sports Illustrated comes out.
From Sports Illustrated. Basically, these two guys, Mark Fanara-Wada, he's got kind of a weird name.
Glad you tackled that.
And Lance Williams are writing a book. About Barry Bonds and the doping.
Right.
And the information that they have in there is
apparently
unbelievable.
Very detailed, right.
Very detailed, very convincing, very, pretty much fact-based.
Yep.
That they write that just a couple excerpts here. I mean, we're not going to go through the whole thing, obviously, but more than a dozen people either had been told directly he was using banned drugs,
right.
had seen him use drugs with their own eyes, or had been provided with information that made the conclusion that he was doping, inescapable, according to a book.
Yeah, this is unbelievable.
The book excerpt from Sports Illustrated.
And you know what?
It's a lot of information.
The fact that two reporters from the Chronicle is who has put this together leads me to believe that this is serious stuff. Only because these are not your run-of-the-mill, let me make a quick $5 billion and then get sued and that'll be okay. Reporters have a bit of a backbone, and they know what they're supposed to be reporting on.
Let's make this clear, too. This isn't just one instance.
Right.
This is not like somebody saw Barry Bonds
This is a
with a needle.
step-by-step through several years.
Again, we can't go through the whole thing, but obviously everything began in 1998, and I guess he was enamored with the Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa home run chase.
And they won.
Right, and he developed a deep knowledge of performance enhancers. He even talked to third parties, medical authorities. So apparently he became very versed in what he could get away with.
There's your problem right there.
Right. I mean, it started with cream, human growth hormone.
Yeah, let me read this, right? This is what they report on. Day-to-day, drug-by-drug detail, okay, on how often and how deeply Bonds engaged in the persistent doping. This is coming from the Associated Press, what this is all about, right? They're saying that by 2001, okay, when he broke McGwire's home run record when he hit 73, he was using the clear and the cream as well as, get a load of this, insulin, human growth hormone, testosterone, I don't even know how to say this, decanoate, a fast-acting steroid known as Mexican beans, and
I've had Mexican beans.
a steroid created to improve the muscle quality of cattle, okay?
So a cow has the home run record?
Dude, there's 6 different steroids on it. Well, insulin's not a steroid. I don't believe it is. Paul could probably correct me on that.
And again, this is all from the Balco Labs, headed by Victor Conti. So anyway, I mean,
this is unbelievable.
This is a pretty big story because there's something else I heard also that someone mentioned. I don't know how factual it is. Sports Illustrated is one of the few magazines, or one of the reputable magazines, that if you look at the beginning of Sports Illustrated, you see senior writers.
Yep.
Those guys who write the stories. I heard that all those other writers are really, until they become senior writers, fact checkers.
Sure.
So those guys,
And that's
all
what
the
I
writers
meant.
there, every article that goes into Sports Illustrated is, I
Right.
mean, it's not just thrown out there. This isn't the Inquirer
When
that
was
we're
the
talking
last
about.
time you heard Sports Illustrated having to renege on an issue that they wrote about or get sued on an issue that they wrote about? Not that I can remember. And like I said, this is coming from two big-time newspaper reporters. The San Francisco Chronicle is the equivalent, I believe, to the Boston Globe or the Boston Herald. So you're talking a major newspaper, major reporters. You know,
And again, they talk
this is a
about
big
steroid regimen. Again, this is not one instance.
No.
This is not
This is
one
ridiculous.
thing where Bonds can deny. This is a series of events. The whole thing is chronicled, and it's pretty damaging
I wish
to
that
Barry Bonds. Now,
Dave Betancourt was here right now because he's stuck up for Bonds
Well-
so many times.
I'll tell you what.
Is there any doubt in anybody's minds, or was it just a matter of time?
I'm a little confused now. I'll be honest with you.
Oh, this should be
Well,
good.
I was thinking about this. I mean,
Noah Cow does not have the
No,
home run
no.
record.
In all seriousness, where do you draw the line? I mean, this whole Hall of Fame record thing is
Yeah.
mushed.
Right.
I mean, McGuire, Sosa, Palmeiro,
Yep.
Bonds. There's no doubt Bonds is a tremendous baseball player, but where do you draw the line
Right.
between 73 home runs and 52?
Right.
I mean, how much did these steroids affect him? I mean, obviously a lot, but I mean, all these records are tainted.
Yeah.
I mean, did you put asterisks? You allow these guys to get into the Hall of Fame?
And overall, this just puts another black guy on baseball. They can't seem to
Huge.
avoid
Huge.
as many steps as they take forward, because now we were just talking about last week how Major League Baseball is prohibiting methamphetamines. Was that what it was?
Something like that.
Oh, whatever it was. Methamphetamines. Isn't that like
Amphetamines?
super illegal crack or something? I don't know. The newest barrage that they've said you cannot take, which includes, pretty much everything other than something like Red Bull or
Right.
Mountain Dew or coffee, you know what I mean? And I got something to tack on there too, by the way. They make this step and people go, good for Major League Baseball. It's about time you do something. Now this comes out, takes them 2 steps back again. They just cannot seem to avoid the
I
whole
think
black
Roger
eye.
Maris and those older players, Hank Aaron's, are looking great. I mean, to
I
me,
don't know, though. Who knows if there was crap going around then? Who knows if Babe Ruth didn't find some way to, eat cow dung and make him stronger and take
I
care
don't
of all
think
the
the technology
business?
was available then. Now there has always been throughout baseball the scuffing of the ball and stuff like that. But
Right.
this is completely different. I mean, this is altering your body. So, I mean, I don't know. I think this whole era is just tainted. I don't know where we go from here, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I really don't. I have no clue. But
It's almost like you feel
Have
like
any good news of today?
This is the steroid era, and you almost have to put it on the side of your head and wonder what happened before
So,
that era or after.
exactly, and this will be a good.
Can we start this year with a clean new
Oh
era?
man, this will be a good story. I mean, obviously, we'll have some details on this as the book comes out. And
It's like you said, where do you draw the line? What years would you say do not seem legitimate? Like 91 to
No,
2004,
you see these guys.
5.
One year they're big, the next year they're small. I mean,
Barry Bonds is a
they
perfect
got great
example.
stats.
Barry Bonds is jacked. He's bald. He's always pissed off.
Here's the shame of it. I think Barry Bonds, although he might not have had maybe not 73 home runs,
Right.
or he might not hit him a mile into the water.
Yeah.
You know what? He probably would have
don't
still
know.
been a tremendous baseball player.
Look at his frame before he got all
Well,
jacked up. He was kind of a scrawny guy.
Yeah, but
Not to
you
mention,
still have to have hand-eye coordination.
how
still
old
have
is
to have
Barry Bonds right now?
Well,
He's
it's
at least 40, right?
late 30s or 40, if I'm not
He's
mistaken.
not. He wouldn't be playing. There's no way that guy would still be playing right now.
That's just an
with the
unbelievable,
injuries he's had.
unbelievable story. And I think when this booker comes out, holy moly!
I'll be there. I'll be first in line.
Let's get to some happy stuff.
The World
Jeez.
Baseball Classic. Let's get happy.
Let's get happy.
I
Wow,
can
this
give
really.
two craps about it. How do you like that for happiness? It's on right now as we tape this show. We
It's
won't
on
say
right
which
now.
game's on.
Big Papi, 2 home runs. Well, we're taping the show on Tuesday, so
Yep.
Big Papi fans.
Ridiculous.
The Dominican.
He's just sick.
The Dominican, solid baseball team. I mean, I'd love to see the Dominican come down to the play the U.S., which you know,
Well, I'm sure that's
it's
going to
set
happen.
up that way. I mean,
do you have the lineup there? Because that's what.
well, I have the pools. The U.S.
okay.
plays Mexico,
Yep.
and obviously by the time the folks watch the show, they'll have known the result. But I'll tell you what, I know at the beginning I trashed this whole thing. I don't like the timing of it right before the baseball season. But you know what? I was watching it, and the Dominican people.
I caught you.
The Dominican people?
The Dominican people? Is that the proper way of saying it?
Yes.
All right. I figured you jumped all
The
over me.
Dominican
I'd
people,
find something.
Dominican Republic people, were cheering very hard for their team. And I said, you know what, this might not be so bad.
Well, yeah, there's
It's
no
a matter
doubt.
of pride of country. And I know
Right.
the United States,
There we
some
go.
people
Let's get into
are
this
very
again.
pompous about the United States.
David Ortiz.
But this gives a chance for these small countries to cheer for something.
Team USA
Something
probably
good.
won't win jack because I don't think that anybody of reason is playing for Team USA anyway. Who's Roger Clemens playing for? Does he have some kind of like Spanish background from like great Auntie Clemens where he's playing for Spain? Does Portugal have a team, by the way? I'm curious to know. Did they give you a call?
Probably have a team. Probably be like
They're probably already eliminated.
3-4 players on it. Mark Teixeira.
All named Medeiros.
Well, I think this will be interesting. Again, I'm not crazy about the timing, but watching all those stars play today, we were watching a little bit of the Dominican and Venezuela here in our grand
Oh, yeah,
studios.
Big Papi hit 2 home runs. I saw Adrian Beltre jack a home run, which it's been a while since he's done that. And I think there was somebody else that did too. I'm kind of surprised because I know going into this, I really thought the pitchers were well ahead of the batters because, what are you grinning about? Am I walking you into a disagreement here? That's my feeling. I think the pitchers are absolutely ahead of the hitters, and I'm shocked to see the batters doing this well against players like Johan Santana and Bartolo Colon. What's your feeling on this whole thing?
Well, my feeling is it's easier to get your timing down as a batter versus a pitcher. I think a pitcher goes into spring training working on his stuff. That curveball, the slider, breaking hard, cutting hard. I think that takes a little time.
I think Clemens can come in and throw heat just as good as,
heat's one thing. Heat's one thing, but working the ball is something else. And a guy like Papi,
you want to strike out Papi, just throw heat. Ortiz doesn't have his timing down for that heat. I'd be interested to know what
Didn't I just say he hit 2 home runs?
Right. I'd be interested to know
How can he not have his timing if he hit 2 home runs?
Well, maybe he hit 2 curveballs that hung out there.
Yeah, because the pitchers obviously
should have thrown heat. The pitcher. Are you telling me that the batters?
You're contradicting yourself.
The batters are ahead of things on the pitchers.
They can't throw curveballs, but they can throw heat. I mean,
well, I kind of disagree
with
the whole
curve thing.
throw heat.
You got to throw location.
I think that they're ahead of their curveball more so than the batters are ahead of the motion of the curveball.
Yeah, but when you got such professional hitters right now, and I just think the pitchers take a little more fine tuning because
to me, batters have
they
timing.
do one thing. But they need to hit the ball.
But pitchers have timing, but they more so have a fluid motion, and that fluid motion should come right back to them.
No,
whereas the timing can definitely be
motion
off.
comes back.
Why is it that they put Wakefield, they put Schilling and then Wakefield, and then bring in another fastball pitcher like Pedro, for instance? Remember they did that? No, they do it because the batters have trouble adjusting to the timing.
That's not
quicker.
Proven, by the way.
How do you figure that? We were successful doing that.
They haven't proven that.
Pedro, Wakefield, Schilling.
They do that because you
see
the same team twice. That's why they do it. That's got nothing to do with
They do it because the batter's timing is thrown off and they can't figure it out in a given day.
That's a knuckleball.
It's still timing.
We're not talking about knuckleballs.
Timing is timing.
No, knuckleball's a knuckleball. Knuckleball moves.
We'll get into the knuckleball in a sec.
For instance, I'm glad you brought that up. Let's say we had Tim Wakefield pitching for USA. His knuckleball might not have as much movement now as it would in May or June.
Well, I don't know if a knuckleball is a good example because a knuckleball, I think he could just throw that.
You brought the example to the table.
He could throw a knuckleball.
Now it's not a good example.
Knuckleball is the same thing 12 months out of the year. He doesn't have to work on it. He wraps his knuckles around, digs his fingernails in, and just throws the ball. And it does whatever it wants to do. Whether it's the middle of December or the middle of June, it's a knuckleball. It's not the same. I disagree.
Knuckleball, fastball, curveball. That's why they have spring training. You've got to work on these aspects. I don't think it's a big difference, but I think the batters are slightly ahead of the pitchers. If a pitcher doesn't have his good stuff, and I can't see a pitcher come in spring training with pinpoint location.
No, but I think they get there quicker.
Yesterday, what did he do? He got shellacked. But I mean, not worry about it. I mean, that's what you do on spring training.
I understand that, but I think for the most part, you see a lot more success with pitchers than you do with batters.
Well, I'll tell you what. Once this thing is over, we'll have to revisit it.
Yeah, that works. I still don't care about it, but I'll catch it in the next couple of years.
The only pool that's been determined so far, and I don't know why this particular pool is ahead of everybody else. Korea and Japan advance in Pool A. So
Yeah, I think they already played. Didn't Korea and Japan play each other?
yes, and Korea won one game. I'm sorry.
So Korea
they beat
moves
Japan
on?
3-2. But Korea, no, it's two teams. So Korea and Japan move on.
So they beat each other, yet they still both move on.
Yeah, but they beat the other two teams also in the conference.
I'm all over it. I think it's a bad judgment of, if you want to go with the whole pride thing, are they not, is it not like single elimination at some point where they just play each other
Well,
one
I think
game
once
and
they
that's
get
it?
into the right, once they
Why is the baseball postseason all involving at least 3 games? It's all a series because baseball is so unpredictable. It's such a different game than football where you could play one game. To determine the outcome, okay, of who's going to take the top of the crop here by one game is ridiculous. You and I both agree which 2 teams will probably be in it at the end, but who the heck knows? Team Mexico could beat Team USA today, and fans will know whether they did or not, and could go and beat everybody and be along the way.
Oh, I mean, you can't make this a World Series because you got baseball coming up. Again,
Yeah,
I
'cause
think
the timing
I think the
sucks.
timing's bad. I think they should have this right after the baseball season. You don't have to worry about anybody else getting hurt. George Steinbrenner, the crybaby, so worried that some of
Did you see
his prima donnas are going to
his
get
sign that he posted?
No.
What the heck advertisement did he put out there? Something anti...
I love Johnny
Oh, I know
I
what it
love
was.
Johnny Demon.
He put something out apologizing to the fans of spring training for them to not be able to see some of the star players because they went to the
That's
WBC.
ridiculous. Yeah.
Another knock by George.
If you want to do that, lower the prices. What's next on the
Spring training
agenda?
games. Let's talk a little Red Sox. We just talked about Tim Wakefield. Let's keep things rolling with him. You know, Mirabelli got traded, and I liked Doug Mirabelli. I liked him as Wakefield's catcher, but to me, I don't know if his stat line read that way, but it always seemed like the guy was doing something. He was jacking a home run or getting a game-winning, maybe not game-winning, but he was bringing in RBIs at an opportune time. I really liked Mirabelli, but I could understand because I had said this on the sports show before. I really think he'd be a starter on another team. He was satisfied where he was.
He's pretty solid. I think he filled a pretty good role. And
Absolutely.
And he did it well.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, when he got up, he hit some timely home runs, and
Yep.
he was Wakefield's guy, but they traded him, and they got the second baseman out of it. So
Well, they had 3 catchers vying for the job, and Flaherty
Flaherty,
just decided to retire.
deal.
Ends where it all began. And now you're down to 2, and one of these guys has to catch because you cannot have Veritek with that kind of load, especially the way Veritek has performed the past few years towards the end of the season, especially in the postseason. He's just too worn down.
well, you have to do one of 2 things. Either you find somebody to catch Wakefield, or Veritek catches Wakefield, and you find somebody just to
Rotate.
relieve him when he needs a rest.
I think that's a dangerous game you play, though, because pitchers rely heavily on who they're getting comfortable with their catcher, and we've heard time and time again, Tech is the type of catcher that, I mean, we'll talk in a sec about David Wells. He loves Jason Veritek.
Well, that's a good point.
You know.
Maybe you put him at the end of the rotation with a guy like Arroyo or something. I don't know if it's fair or not.
Right.
I mean, I don't know.
I really think that Veritek needs that rest every so many starts. I almost would like to see maybe even a little more rest than that. Although
Just like Manny.
you're gonna hurt him
Manny
in the
needs an
lineup.
occasional day off.
Yeah, Manny.
I mean, just
Don't
Manny
even-
being Manny.
Don't even get me started. What, did things get a little slow for you on this sports show and you just want to get me started now?
Oh, listen, I was happy to see Manny come in and report on time.
Not on time.
Jogging to the
He was
outfield.
not. He did not
Jogging to
report
the
on
outfield.
time. He
Happy.
reported a day later than all other Red Sox were required to do. Okay.
Just
We
like
won't
your
even get
friend
into that.
David Wellesley. I mean, these guys in the offseason, they all have issues.
Well,
Spring training comes, the birds are out, it's sunny.
Right.
Everybody loves to play, they love their team.
getting back to Wakefield, you know, how important is it that Wakefield said, okay, I don't know if you follow this back and forth between Wakefield and Terry Francona. Wakefield said, look, decide on a guy, and if it doesn't work, we'll go to the next, instead of juggling back and forth between them to see who's going to work. And I kind of can see Wakefield's mentality like that. With a pitch like a knuckleball, it doesn't help to go every other game. You kind of would want to stick with it for a few games just to see how things go for the most part. So the fact of the matter is, you need to be able to stick with the one guy, and if he doesn't work out, go with the next. Francona's like, no, we're not doing it that way, and didn't really explain. Francona's just saying we're going to
Has
give both
Francona
guys.
ever dogged anybody, said anything bad about anybody? Everything's good to him. Yeah, they'll work out. They'll work out. I mean, everything's good. Tackle, catch every ball.
You making fun of his allergies? Maybe he's allergic
Frank
to
Warner,
baseballs.
he's got that little
Twitch.
Everything's good.
I think I talked about that a year or so ago. Tim Wakefield. No, we just talked about him. David Wells rescinding on his whole trade off-season issues that he's had and said, look, yes, Boston's a pain in the you-know-what, but my family, my kids, myself, will deal with it for one more year, and then I'm probably going to retire. 99.9% chance he's going to retire. So a little strange the way I've read this, where Wells reports it as, I went into Theo's office, said, here's the scoop, I'll stay, I'll deal with it, I want to be a team player. And according to Wells, Theo was overjoyed, had an ear-to-ear smile, and was very happy about the situation. They went back to, the press went back to Theo, and Theo said, it's kind of a non-issue, and it should be a non-issue. That's a little weird, you know, is Wells pumping himself up here, realizing that there's a possibility. Let's not forget, David Wells is saying, okay, I'll stay. David Wells might not have a spot if he turns out to be the odd man out. Am I right or wrong about that?
I think you're wrong because he pitched well last year. I think it just.
What do you base that on? The seventh?
I just looking at the whole situation. I just think he wanted to finish out as most athletes do. Their last year at home, San Diego. I mean, the situation didn't work out with the trade in San Diego. He personally called the manager of San Diego. Things didn't work out. And he probably looking at the whole situation, say, you know what? It's my last year, probably.
Makes it sound like he's resorting to it now.
And I'm probably, and it's better to play for the Red Sox, who are a winning organization.
Right.
His big issue is
privacy.
Privacy. And you know what?
Seems to be Manny's issue too.
Well,
Maybe I ought to throw David Wells into the
I'm not
going to
disagree with him. Boston's a tough town. Some people say it comes with the territory, but he can't go anywhere. And sometimes you know who it is. If it was me or you or anybody else, some people say, "Hey, good game. How you doing?" But you know, there's the Yahoo fans.
Yep.
Who probably, you know, maybe interrupt
like
him
idiots.
during dinner, want him to sign his scrapbook. You know, I mean, that's a judgment call, and sometimes.
It's David Wells. He's got a little bit of an attitude, so I could see me going up to him,
it's
begging for
part
an
of the
autograph,
business.
and him punching me.
It's part of the business, but I do believe that athletes should be able to go out to dinner with their family without being harassed.
I guess.
Now, there's ways around that by calling ahead with the rest to the restaurant, stuff like that. It just, I mean, put yourself in their position one day. You know, everybody says, I wish I could play baseball, whatever, but just put yourself in that position once where you want, like, we go out anywhere. I mean, with us too, it's tough because we're recognized
everywhere. If that's such
everywhere.
a big issue, why doesn't he just retire now?
I don't think it's a big issue.
To your family. He certainly made a big issue out of it all spring training.
Yeah, but he never said
He's
he
doing
wanted
his
to
thing
retire.
by himself. The press isn't even seeing him at spring training, and Francona's reporting that everything's going along smoothly with him. All right, I see what you're saying about the success he had last year. What did he win? 17 games, I think? He had the highest run support in Major League Baseball. You're going to win 17 games when that happens. That might not be the case this year because just odds are, why would that happen again? Fact of the matter is, how can we say that David Wells is an absolute shoo-in in this starting rotation when you have so many other good pitchers vying for the spot? We don't know if Papelbon's going to close. What if he turns out to be worthy of a starter situation?
Yeah, but you're confusing one thing with another.
I think David Wells is making a big issue of it.
You're confusing on-field performance and what we think he's going to do versus whether he wanted it to stay or not.
I think that David Wells has
finish at home.
I think David Wells has made a dramatic issue during spring training to kind of just make an issue of it, pump himself up a little because he might not even have a job in the starting rotation.
These things happen. I think things happen.
And he's saying that Theo's smiling from ear to ear.
If you want to watch soap operas and watch soap operas, I mean, these things
It's
happen.
hard to avoid that the Red Sox being a soap opera. It's been like that since like September.
I mean, he cleared it up, and, you know, that's what it is.
Good.
I mean, I'm happy he cleared it up, so this way you won't be
Boomer,
talking about it.
We all love you again. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you,
You like
Boomer.
anybody?
I appreciate the fact. I like Mark Loretta. I like who's playing third from Florida. Remember
Mike
the numbers I said he's going to put up. It's gonna be
And
sick.
actually, next week we're going to have the NCAA. We're going to do a little bracketology. NFL,
That's all you.
the NFL.
I'm taking the day off next week.
The NFL owners are fighting amongst themselves,
Yep.
millionaires, to ratify the union contract. And we'll talk about that next week. But as usual, our shows fly by.
We're done. It's a sports show at yahoo.com. Thanks to Frenchie, Jen, and
Mitch.
He's going to love me. I was thinking about something else.
Yeah.
Anyway, Dolphin Paul,
Michael-
Scott Cray. We'll see you next week. That's what I was thinking. He's looking like he's staring up at the heavens. Lord, thank you so so much for